Hi y'all, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
Hi, I'm Emma.
Hi, I'm Ann.
Hi, I'm Marie, and we are coming to you live from Austin, Texas, because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! Hey everybody, Happy Wednesday and Merry Christmas, almost. We have 1 week, but this is our last show for the year. And we've done a lot of shows this year. It's really been a lot of fun. We've made a lot of stuff this year with people.
We have.
Now, I've asked the girls, I know we've seen so many love notes from our friends in our group, Living Felt Friends, and I know that the girls just wanted to say a little something.
Yeah, just thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to just share your good thoughts and well wishes with us. It really does warm our heart that you care. It's so sweet.
Yeah, y'all make it all worth it for us. Y'all are the best customers anyone could possibly ask for.
Yeah, really, it's really fun being of service to you, and we all have fun, and these girls have been learning and growing to felt, and the new gals are felting too and just getting started, and so we just want to thank you so much for your love notes on the orders, sometimes when you call, and hopefully you can get here and meet us sometime. And so for everyone who's joining us for the first time, just deal with the mush fest. That's how it is.
Welcome.
So we're going to have a Woolly Wednesday. Let's get started, y'all.
Yeah. Thank y'all. Love y'all.
For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome to Woolly Wednesday. This is what we like to do on most Wednesdays of the year, as much as we can, is hang out with our friends for about an hour. We like to have an interactive hour. Sometimes we do show and tells from the shop. Sometimes we do a felt along. Sometimes we have a guest. And today we are going to be needle felting a little 2D ornament. We are going to make this little mouse. So if you're watching on the playback on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. On Facebook, you can hit the bell and find out whenever we're going live, but this is our standard time. We will not have a show for the next 2 weeks. So this broadcast will be immediately available right here on our Facebook page, which is just fb.com/livingfelt, and we will get it up to YouTube as long as there's no technical difficulties, just as soon as we can. So I'm going to refresh my screen real fast. If you're joining us for the first time, say hi and where you're from. If you're new, say, hey, I'm new. You're going to see people joining us saying hi and where they're from. So I want to see who is here. Go back, see a couple of our friends saying hello. I got to get past all these announcements. I can't find us, Ann.
We are.
We're up. Ann's saying we're up. So I can't. So who's joining us?
We've got Amanda in Oregon, Annalie in Sweden, Maria in Sweden, Sonia in Tennessee, Sandy in New York City.
Lovely. Thank you all so much for being here. So check in, say hi, say where you're from, and hey, if you're going to be needle felting an ornament with us today, write what you are felting so I can see what you're making. In just a few minutes, we're going to get right up close and personal and start working on this little mouse ornament. But before we do, I want you to know that today is a really big event for us. It's a very special day because it is the first time in the history of Living Felt, which is almost 15 years now, that we are introducing a kit that contains glitter. The kit itself has glitter in it, and for that we want to do a huge shout out to Kimberly Czar of Czar Designs on Etsy. And let me just show these to you. This is our brand new kit, and it's needle felting a little 2D snow village. So this is just absolutely one of my favorite projects of all time. It's so whimsical, it's so fun, and there's so many different ways you can go about it. So Kimberly, some of you know I've owned a little snow village that Kimberly made for a couple of years now, and I was just so tickled when she agreed to share the theme, the idea with all of you. So we do have a kit. It's just brand new today. It will come with 2 of these little wood slices and all the stuff you see here to build your snow village, including the acorn caps and the little pine cone bits. I'll just get them up close here for a second. And the glitter, of course, this way. And the colors are assorted. Of course, we're using our MC1 fiber. And I think Ann is going to share a little link to Kimberly's Etsy shop. And I've just started mine, so there's not enough houses in it. There's just a couple, and there's not enough trees or anything. So I just have started mine. My acorn caps are not glued on yet, but I'm going to be playing with this over the next week or so. And I hope you'll give one a try and visit Kimberly's Etsy shop if that's not of interest to you, and look at the adorable stuff she makes. And Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing this with us. We're just so tickled, and I'm honestly having a blast. So these are ready to go, and I'm sure Ann's probably already shared a link. And hey, if you're watching the show, first of all, we always give away prizes at the end, and today somebody, one or two of you, will win one of our little Needle Felting the Snow Village kits. So we're going to do a little question. We draw names at the end of every show, so contribute to the conversation, and your name will go into a hat. We'll give away prizes at the end, but we're also going to pop a random question in the middle of our event today, and if someone can answer that correctly, then you'll win one too. It's a pretty stupid thing, but anyway. Okay, so hey, let's felt an ornament together, and I'm going to show you just a couple of ornaments I have here, and let's just jump right into our tutorial. Thank you for being here. I have a few ornaments here on the table just to share with you. Maybe you're not into making a mouse, but this is the little project that we're going to make today. And we'll put legs on as long as there's time. And this is kind of a cheater little way to make a mouse without an armature. It's like a faux armature, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. This guy is made with an armature, and it actually took too long for us to be able to do in our hour because there's more to do on him and build up. But if this is of interest to you, we're going to look at doing some simple little critters in a felt along next year, and we'll show you how to add some fun little details to them too. So I just wanted to set him aside, and if there's time, I'll just show you at least how that armature is. Now, maybe you're not into mice, and maybe you just want to make a real simple ornament. On our last show, we did a little 2D needle felted scene, and decorating little balls is really a fun thing to do also. These two were made freehand. They were my last year's ornaments. I usually get or make a new ornament for my tree every year. And this is just our core wool, needle felted into a ball. You could also make them in a washing machine. And then I've just decorated them, you know, just like we did our little 2D scene. And like I said, they're freehand, but if you want to use other images to trace or cookie cutters or anything, that's totally doable. And then this is an oldie one that was like one of my first video tutorials ever, and it's just a little ornament, so you can needle felt a picture onto felt and then stitch it onto another piece of felt so that that raw back doesn't show. So I just wanted to give you a few ideas. If these little mice, this little guy doesn't really speak to you, you might just venture off and do something else fun.
Wendy says, oh, they're adorable. Linda Richardson shares, cuteness overload is right. We have all of them.
You guys are so sweet. Thank you. Okay, let me show you what supplies we're using today to make this little guy, and I'm going to run through them really fast. So the first thing is our core wool. I'm going to be working with our roving. It comes in a great big, this is probably too big. It's okay. This comes in a great big stuff sack, so you can't see it all, but this is a big 8-ounce bag. And what it does is it allows you just to reel the fiber out. This is what it looks like. It's just an off-white. It's got some vegetable matter in it. It's a U.S. Domestic breed, nice and crimpy, needle felts really well, easy to work with. We're also working with our MC1 batting, and the colors I'm working with today are right here. And my mouse is just made with cotton white, so he's going to be a cotton white mouse. I'm going to use, this is Marina, and this is called MC1 batting. Ann's going to put up a link to that for those of you who've never worked with it. For his scarf, I might work some New Zealand Corriedale in there. His hat, this hat is true red, and we also like our vintage red. And then this is peachy, is the color that I'm using on his nose and his tail and the ends of his fingers. An option that I'm going to show you today for working inside the ears is using a little wool felt sheet. So everything I'm showing you we sell in the shop. And this, what do we call this color?
It's apricot.
Apricot. Yeah, apricot it's a pretty close color. So we're going to use that. I'm going to show you how to use that inside the ears. We're going to be working with chenille stems, of course. We sell these in packs of 100. So it's, you know, pipe cleaner. You can get them anywhere, but we have them for convenience. And it's best on a project like this. Choose one of the lighter colors if you can. Throwing in here, his eyes are little 4mm black glass beads, so that's what I'm going to work with. And we also have a little eye detail pack that has eyes on a loop. It comes like this with a doll needle, white and black for the eyes, some thread and some floss. I'll show you all of that stuff. And then lastly, maybe some jingle bells and something to hang him. This little guy's name is Peppermint, so this is the color we chose for his tassel. I'll show you how to attach that. And those are the basic supplies. We'll use some sewing thread, pliers, and sewing needle, and scissors, and a skewer. I think that's everything. Foam. This is our Earth Harmony needle felting foam and a variety of felting needles. And from here, I'm going to plunge in and let you and Anne interrupt me with questions as we go. Okay?
Wendy shares peach and apricot. Sounds like the start of a lovely fruit punch.
Okay, let me try and get this stuff out of your field of view. I don't know where it all is. We good? Okay, so this is who we're making today, and let me show you what we're going to get to. We're going to get to these two. He's going to be made with two little balls, so that are like the shapes of a pointy egg. His head is a pointy egg on top of sort of another little egg. A really basic shape. We could build them on armature, as I said, but it takes a lot longer than it does just to needle felt some little balls like this. So to start with, I'm going to be working with our core wool, and I'm just going to show you how to form these shapes. If you don't have core wool, just use whatever color you have that you're going to use for the outside. So if you have cotton white, just use the cotton white on the outside. And this is how I do it. Pull off a strand that is however long, usually about 18 inches or so. And you can start with it a little bit smaller than you need because you can always build onto it as you go. You know, you can always add another layer. The most important thing is that it gets kind of dense. So I'm going to start by rolling a little tube, and then you tuck in the ends and just let it become a ball first. Notice that I just pinch and roll and pinch and roll. Does this all show up okay? Anne says we're doing good. Now, what I do is I just kind of start tapering this end with my pinching and rounding this end with my manipulation. That's all you want to do, is kind of get it to more of the shape that you need as you're rolling, rather than try and start with a ball and make it super pointy. So go ahead and make this end a little more tapered and this end a little more round, just by how you guide the wool. Before you let go, and notice that I'm really pinching it because I want to get as much air out of it as possible. Before you let go, get your felting needles in here and poke that fiber down. I am working with my 36 triangle coarse needle because it moves a lot of wool. What you want to do is roll your pieces as tight as you can and keep as much air out as you can, because that is going to make it easier to needle felt. When we needle felt, remember, when we felt in general, we're getting all these fibers to entangle upon each other. It's easier to do that if they're closer together. So when we wet felt, especially with something like batting, it helps to crunch it down, roll it up, ball it up, however you get all those fibers. You get the air between them diminished. When we wet felt, we do it with soap and water, but also how we layer the fiber. So in this case, it looks really rough until it doesn't. And so what you want to do whenever you're needle felting a shape, for those who are brand new, is work around the whole thing. Don't stay in one place too long, and needle felt to the middle, to the middle, to the middle. There's no reason to go, when you're trying to make a round shape like this, to go through it to the foam. Just go to the middle and firm everything out in that way. Doing okay? Okay, so we're just kind of bang this out. Now, going from here, I've started with my coarse needle, and one thing that I found I really like to do is jump back and forth between my coarse needle and my new favorite sculpting tool, which is 3 to 4 42 triangles all together. And this really does help shape and guide the wool. So the firmer and the more even you have this underbody of your mouse or ornament or pig or dog or whatever you're making, then the smoother your surface layer will be.
And Lois asks, could you start this body on a pipe cleaner?
You certainly could. I just find that making a ball, especially of this size or an egg shape, is really easy, not on a pipe cleaner, like it's so small. I know I've done it on the owls and things like that, and you certainly could, but because it's so tiny, I felt like I didn't really need that support. But you absolutely could start it on a pipe cleaner. And for those of you who don't know what she's asking, you could watch our Needle Felting Fantasy Owls video. We used the pipe cleaner, and I think we did on the gnomes also, which was, we had a big November festival, and that would take you back to November 7th on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. We have a Woolly Wednesday playlist, and then what we've been doing is just scooping these videos into our, whether it's a needle felting or a wet felting playlist also. Okay, so this doesn't have to be rock hard, but get it, how you want it. And then what we want to do is cover it with whatever your exterior color is. I'm choosing to work with white, and it may look the same, but our cotton white is a little bit brighter. You could make your mouse gray. I'm thinking I might make a little gray Christmas mouse too. So when I cover with something, I usually work with what's like a half thickness of our MC1 batting. This would be like a half thickness. The full thickness is pretty beefy. It's a little more like this. And then you'll find that you can peel it apart. You can even peel this into thinner layers if you want. This batting is so easy to work with and so easy to needle felt, and you can just peel it into little different layers of thickness as well as different strips. So I'm going to cover it, and all you need to do is just get enough just to go around the outside once. So notice how easily it pulls apart. Yeah, this is a little tiny mouse. Now to cover the piece, what I like to do is start on one end and get that end just laying right down on the figure, and then I'm going to tack that fiber down there. You want to kind of get it to taper and not have any folds. And you also want to, treat it like shelf paper, and that's like real methodically tack it down and get as much air out as possible so that you don't jump all over the place. And you just push all the excess to the opposite side. So we're going to see real quickly here that I have more fiber than I need, but you can just pinch this off. And that's totally usable for something else, like even our ears that we'll do in a minute.
Pauline asks, if you were making a brown mouse, would you have to use a brown core, or does the white shine through? Yeah,
that's a great question, Pauline. So our core wool is all white. We don't sell core wool in different colors, and we always use white inside of all of our figures. There's white underneath this ball, underneath my dolls. There's white underneath. This is my little needle felting pin cushion, our little sheepy bowl. And there's white underneath here. So you just need to cover it with a nice solid layer. That's the only thing. You don't want it showing through. So notice that I'm just tacking this all down and getting really refined, and getting all your needle marks comes afterwards. But if you use fine needles now, then you're not going to make big cavernous holes in your sculpture at the moment. So just get it all the way around, pull off your excess top and around the body, and get this all nice and laid down without any great big folds. If you have folds, just take that excess off. Okay, while I'm tacking this down, what else can I answer?
Let's see. Do you have any tips for condensing? So going back to the first part, do you have any tips for condensing the pointed end without flattening it in the middle too much?
I just sort of taper it as I go, and then if you want it to be more pointed, then you can sculpt it to be even a sharper point. But I find just try and shape it more like an egg. Just think more like an egg, and then you can really get in there with your felting needles and start to taper it even more. Okay, so I'm just tacking this all down, and what I encourage you to do before you start building your mouse is when you get your shape to about like this, now's the time to really take your time and make each poke, each jab really count, and just smooth out the entire surface layer with your sculpting. What do we need to do? Move him out of the way? He's bothering?
It just comes in a tiny corner.
Okay, so just before you try and attach your mouse pieces, go over this and smooth it all out. Use your fine needles, or if you don't like that tool, then use a single needle. You can even use the green 40 triangle, but spending the time to get all that fiber nice and smooth is going to be important and helpful. And you're going to do that on the body and on the head. So those two pieces, kind of get them shaped now. And if you want to sculpt this, nose a little bit more, to get it pointed like this, use your more aggressive needles. Like I'll just do it here and I'll start shaping this body. I can flatten what will be the head. This needle, the pink 36 and the blue 32, are very aggressive needles. And I know some of you are just brand new to this and you don't know how your needles work, but it's little projects like this that are going to start to teach you about your materials and your tools. So play with them and notice how they perform. But this is a great tool for really getting in there and shaping. And what you can't see from your direction, I'm going to show you now. Where I needle felt almost all the time is on this horizon right here. So for me, currently it's on this side, and for you viewing, it's probably right here. So when I'm looking to shape something, it's not all that often that I'm going straight in. Instead, I'm looking at the difference between the fiber and what I see on the foam to use as my guide to help me see how my shape is coming. Does that show up as I demonstrate it? You kind of see what I mean by looking at this horizon right here. And so that helps me get the shape that I want. And use these coarse needles to kind of shape, and you can go back over and smooth them out with your finer tools. And if it's just too lumpy and too bumpy and too chewed up, then you can always patch over a very thin layer of fiber. If you just didn't like what you created, you could put the thinnest little layer of fiber right over the top and cover that up and smooth it out. So know that that's an option to you. And you can also do it later after you have the arms on, or maybe you're going to give them a colored tummy. So consider that. All right? Doing okay?
We're doing okay. We had a couple questions come in. Let's see. Dawn says, I managed to break a needle off deep inside of a project. What's the best way to get it out without doing a lot of damage?
I don't have a way. Most of the time, if you break a needle off in your project, if you can't squish and find it, you'll probably be best to let it go. Because if a dog gets a hold of it or a child gets a hold of it and they find the needle, then that'll be a bad day. So if you break a needle off inside, you might have to let the project go depending on what its life is to be.
And Sherry asks, is there a way to bend the needles back into shape when they get a little wonky without breaking them?
No, the needles, so these are good questions. So when you look at the needle, and it's hard to see, but there's a whole part that's just round, and that's like, just the shaft of the needle. But down where the barbs are, the needle has been planed so that it has flat sides, or sometimes it's flat and then given a twist, and sometimes there's a groove running down it. If you've bent it, you can try and straighten it, but what's going to happen is the metal gets weak. So our rule is bow, bend, break. If the needle bows, it's going to get a bend in it, and once it has a bend in it, it's going to break. So what we do is we take needles out of circulation once they have that bend in them when we're doing a class. Okay? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump to making some arms, legs, and a tail so that then we can assemble our guy all together. So make your head and your body, and you can always make a few so that you see how big you want your head to be. My original drawing for this little mouse, I don't know if this is going to show, he was going to have a really fat body, so I'm still trying to kind of get to that point, make him a real fat body. But anyway, so make your head and your body, and I'm going to show you how we make little arms and little legs and the tail, and then we're going to jump to the ears. I'm going to leave him. Is he in the shot? I want him to kind of be in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Put those guys are there. Okay, so we're going to take our chenille stems. For those of you who've never twisty twirled with me before, I'm going to show you how we do that. So the chenille stems are real easy to cut. You can, if you have an ugly pair of scissors that you don't like to use for paper, you can often cut these with that, or you can use your wire cutters. I like to see what size I want my arms to be just by holding them, up to the mouse's body, and I almost always make them too long. So whatever, have fun with that. So.
And then Linda asked, funny timing, do you have any advice on how to gauge how much wool to use when making a shape?
For here, I just say make one and then weigh it. That's what I usually do. I make one, I ask myself, do I like it? And then I weigh it. And like these two pieces that I've made, neither of them even weigh 1/10 of an ounce. They're so little. That's why I said bring 1/4 of an ounce. They're not like rock hard. I'm going to hang it from the tree. It's not that important, that it become like a rock. But some of my friends needle felt very hard. Okay, so this is how I make the fingers, and how we're going to make the arms, and how we're going to make the legs and the tail. What I like to do is start with a little chenille stem. You can make it longer than you think you need because you can cut that off. Also, we're always going to bend the ends back of what will be the hands or the feet or the tail. Bend them back for two reasons. One, if you don't, they're always going to poke through the fiber. And two, you can use it as a little grabber. So we're just going to cover the ends first. I just draft my wool out so that it's a nice, very thin piece. The thinner it is, the easier it is to control. And I just put it in that little hook that I made and then close it. So pinch the hook. Are we good? Do we need to zoom in any on the... Let's zoom in on the live camera maybe for sure. I just want to show this a little bit so y'all can see how to control it. So we have this pinched into the hook, and the first thing I do, I call this the cotton swab tip. I'm just going to turn this over my finger, and I use this gray so you could see the contrast in colors a little bit from the white. You want to cover it all the way, but twist it several times and notice that the wool is sticking off the end. Then just pinch that back over and then wrap your wool around it. So this is all you have to do. And you don't have to go very far, but make sure that it's straight, that it's even, and that you cover whatever is underneath. If you don't feel like you have a good enough coverage, just untwist it and do it again. What you don't want to do is spiral it off the end. You want to intentionally leave a little fluff, but you don't want to get any twist in the fiber. If it starts twisting off the end, just take it off and start over, trust me. That's just such a hassle. So once you have just a little bit of if this is going to be a hand or a foot, you can stop right about here. So just pinch that off. And then if you're working with our batting, you'll find that you can just smooth it out just like this. Really, you can probably get away without needle felting it at all. And if that feels a little tricksy, you can tame it with a little bit, like put your hand on a little bit of water, moisten your finger, and then just keep twisting in that same direction. You can tack it down a little bit, but notice that you don't want to go all the way through to the foam. if you only have aggressive needles, they're going to want to push all the way through to the other side, and that's going to make the fiber come out the other side. So the more you can get it nice and tight and even just with your hand, the better. And then we'll do the same and finish our arm or leg, whatever it is, with a little bit of white. Just remember that you want super thin, controllable bits, so that it doesn't get too big and bulky. It's just as delicate as you want it to be. So I lay my appendage, whatever it is, my arm, right on that little bit of fiber, fold it over, begin twisting, overlap the color that you already had. And for an arm, you can keep it pretty much this skinny if you want. And then I just switch hands so that I can build up a little bit of bulk on what's up here going to be at the top of the body. It's the top of the arm, the top of the shoulder, and then tear it off. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Tear it off. Just twist it between your hands a little bit, and then we'll just tack it down with our very delicate 42 triangle. So notice that I'm going at a bit at an angle. You want to leave this top part nice and loose so that we can attach it to the body of the mouse on the shoulder. This is for an arm, so make it nice and thin. I use my fingers just like this, rolling back and forth, and then I needle felt like in between my fingers. We doing okay visually, Anne? Good, Anne says we're good. Okay, so we're gonna make a couple of arms like this. If you can leave this part accessible here if you can leave this part accessible of what would be like the top of the arm or the leg, you can always cut it off or bend it so that it's not poking through. So try and make yourself a little funnel here, a little access point at the top so that you can still access that wire. And if you can, then if you're able to do that, if you bend it, then it's not going to poke through when you attach it to your critter. That can help a little bit. So make a couple of arms, and to make the legs, the only difference was I added more wool on the very end, just like that. Just add a little more wool on the end so it's a little more conical, and firm it up. So this arm's kind of weak, but I'm going to add just a little bit of fiber on this arm here.
And Robin asks, if I don't have any pipe cleaners, can I try to just felt the arms?
You can. They tend to be a little bit bigger, if you don't have pipe cleaners. They do tend to be just a little bit bigger is all. It's hard not to go all the way through them. The pipe cleaners give you a little bit of a core, to go towards. But you can certainly give it a go. Okay, so this is going to be like my second arm. So this is the only real difference is the arms are a little bit thinner and the legs get a little bit beefier because I'm going to attach them to the sort of the outside. Like I said, this is kind of a faux armature mouse. So we're going to end up attaching them to the bottom of the body. So for the moment, let's set these things aside, our arms and our legs, and you'll make a tail in the very same way. Make your hook and then wrap your fiber up and make your tail just as long as you want. I like the idea of it kind of being at least as big as the mouse. I don't know how technically big a tail is for your average mouse, but make it a little bigger and leave yourself just a bit here. I'll snip it off so that we can attach it to the body. Again, you're going to want to be able to give it a little bit of a hook. Okay? So, go ahead.
He asks, instead of bending the end that goes into the body, can you just push it into the body a bit?
It's not going to go into the body, and it may not push in. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend it so that it's not poking out. Because if I just leave it like this and attach it, it may want to poke out of the wool. So I tuck it under a little bit so that I can trap it down. That's really what I do. Okay? So we have arms and legs made and we have a tail made. Let's dial in our face a little bit, which is a pretty fun thing to do. And I think we're going to have to stay in real close. Sorry, I just need the table. I think we're going to have to stay in real close to do that. So what I want to do actually is I'm going to make a little spot for my eyes, and then we're going to make some ears. And to make this spot for my eyes, I'm just going to come in, oh, that's funny. I'm just going to kind of decide where I want the eyes to go. You can create a little shelf if you want. Like this guy, I made sort of a little shelf in his face. Or you don't have to. So his nose, see how it kind of goes down like that? Well, this one, you might just want it to be a little more mousy and go over. I like both. But so I'm just going to make a couple of dots right here for the eyes, and I'm going to show you how we make the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. So use a coarse needle and poke some little eye sockets. That's kind of the first thing. Deciding where the eyes are is kind of an important part of the process.
And Kate Williams shares, mouse tails are usually the length of their body or a bit longer.
Oh, yeah.
So much experience with mice in this one.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's kind of what I felt like, is it should be kind of long. Okay, so I've given myself just 2 little eye sockets here. You can just drop some black wool in there if you want, with just putting a couple of little dots in place, or you can do something like use some black beads. These are the 4mm glass beads that we sell in the shop, and you get like a strand of 100. And I'm just using button thread. The button thread is really great for seating the eyes. You can even use it to attach the head to the body if you want. And you can even use it to draw the mouth line. So for the moment, I'm just going to get the eyes into place. And the first thing I like to do is thread my needle. I'm always slow at doing this so thread my needle, and I'm going to come up through the bottom of the head, right through the bottom of the head, just like if that were his neck, just like that, and come out one of the eye sockets, right out the eye socket. Just bring your thread all the way out. Take your needle off, and then you have to thread the bead, because my needle is too thick. You can never see. My needle is too thick to go onto the bead. So thread the bead. I probably should have had one made already. Somehow when it comes to doing this on video, I can like never do it in an efficient manner. So somebody talk to me, ask me something while Marie struggles with finding the hole in her bead.
Well, Jan Lynn asks, do you have to sew them in, or could you just glue them?
I don't glue. I rarely glue stuff. Honestly, glue is not something that I use a whole bunch of, and the glue would be messy on a little thing like this. What's fun about this is you can really seat it in tight. So let the bead run back down and then thread your needle again. You could just needle felt wool in there if you wanted to. So now what we're going to do is go back into the eye socket and then right back out the bottom. And this is going to be why you want your piece to be needle felted firmly. So you pull this, and now what you want to do is adjust. I like to adjust it so that the bead hole kind of goes to the not so visible. And then you want to pull it really, really tight. And if the eye is going to look better if it's not sitting on top of the face, if you can pull it in so that it kind of sinks in to the head, it's just going to look cuter than when it's sitting on top. So if your piece is needle felted firmly, you're going to be able to do that, and then just tie a knot. So get it really firm and make that first overlap of your knot. I said I can't do this. When I work at home, I'm really close to my work. So I can see what I'm doing as opposed to. Okay, here we go. Painfully slow process. Tie it into a real nice knot, and then we're going to do the second eye just the same. So there it is. Now they're going to loosen up over time, and you can just jiggle it a little bit too. And let's get our second one on there.
And Heather asks, what is button thread?
Button thread is just a thicker thread. So when you look at it, it's going to say button craft. It's going to say button craft on it. And it's just going to be a thicker thread. It's not as thick as like upholstery thread or something, but it's a nice, thick, strong thread. So it's usually not going to just break the minute you put pressure on it. So here we go. Up again through the next eye socket. And then we'll thread our bead. And we're going to leave your threads dangling, in case I forget to say that in a minute. Leave them on there for a minute.
Fraser asks, can you needle felt the eyes in?
You certainly can, Fraser. You can just needle felt wool in there. And that's what I did on Skinny Mouse. Like Skinny Mouse just has little bits of wool needle felted in for his eyes. But I wanted to show how to do the beading because I know a lot of people don't know how to do that. And so my tips are make eye sockets first, use a nice strong thread, make your piece firm enough that you can tie some nice firm knots and get your eyes seated under there real nice and good. We're going to have to hurry, Anne. I'm going too slow. Too slow for our 1 hour show. Okay, here we go. Okay, eye number 2 is in, and I'm just going to adjust it a little bit and pull that nice and tight. Take it off my needle. Here we go. Okay, so eye number 2.
Kathy asks, do you know if button thread is thicker or sturdier than quilting thread?
Thicker, sturdier. It's thicker and sturdier. In fact, my local quilt shop doesn't sell it. I know. Okay, so here's our little mouse. Leave your threads trailing for a second, and let's just give him a little nose, and I'm going to show you also how to trace around that using this same thread. So I'm going to use, this is our peachy, which is the same color we used on our little appendages, and it's just so easy to shape. Just pull off a little dot. You can give it a little dimension if you want by folding it over once or twice. I don't needle felt it before it goes on the critter because then you have to peel it off your foam. So I just stick it right on to the end of my little guy there and let my needle do all the work. I'm going to go right into the tip of the nose right there. First, just kind of start to get it going, and then use your needle to guide it around. Now, some people might use a little template. I'm giving them a pointy nose. I don't even know what shape a mouse's nose is per se, but critter nose, standard sort of critter nose, kind of like a triangle. And he's so little. I mean, this is a Christmas ornament, right? This is not like your entry into the fair. This is just a little ornament. So now I'm going to trail just a little bit of this color down right there, just to give like that little line of the mouth. Spend your time as much as you want to really shape that nose and make it cute. But if you want to trace the thread around his nose and around the mouth, you can use this same thread, which has already been pulled really nice and tight. I'm going to use this one. It helps if you have a smaller needle sometimes, but this is what I have, is kind of a big one. So come right back through the bottom where we were. You can come right up the corner of one of the noses. Take your time, to get your shapes in the right place. Bring it down to the corner of the nose right there. Go back out the bottom again each time. You don't have to. You could go through the other part of the nose, but it keeps you from pulling too much tension on the thread if you just keep going back to the bottom, just like that. Go back to the bottom and then go up and do it again. Am I showing everything okay? Anne says, yeah.
Sonia asks, what would you use for tiny eyelashes?
Oh, I don't do eyelashes. You'd have to ask somebody with more patience than me. I would use somebody who has more patience than me. I like to do eyebrows with the thread, just kind of the same way we're doing, but I usually don't do eyelashes. I suppose you could do a little swooping line of wool.
A couple of our quilting friends want to know, what would you use for whiskers?
For whiskers, you could use either horsehair, which I did not bring today. We have it here in the shop. You could use whiskers for horsehair, or you could use thread, or something else that feels bristly. We tend to use horsehair, and we did sew horsehair on a video last year. I'll just tell you real quick how to do it. Okay, so let's just seat this right here, and this is how you would kind of do the nose line. Now mine's kind of crooked, so I would go back and work on it a little bit, but you can see how you trace it out. If you're going to do whiskers, what you would do is sew them through so that they're anchored like a staple. So you would run the thread through the muzzle and out this side like that, and then you run the bottom through this side. I don't tie a knot or anything or glue it, but you would just anchor whiskers like this through each side. Do a few of those. That's what we do. Okay, so we have our head all done. It could use some refining, of course, but let's look at a quickie, fun way to do ears, and it's why I brought the wool felt sheets. What you can do is cut little shapes out of the felt for the ears. And you can either, some people would just use this right on the mouse and just basically kind of tack it down with some wool. Or you can kind of cover it in wool, and I'll show you how to do that. Give it a little pinch and anchor it to your critter to make them as big or as little as you want. The first mouse I did, I just put wool inside the ear, but it's a similar process. So if you have a shape, like this, we'll take just a little bit of fiber, and I'm going to actually fold it over so it has a little bit of dimension. Just fold it over there and put my little ear right in the middle. I don't need too much. I just need enough to wrap it around the felt sheet. Just kind of like that. Does that show up, Ann, okay? All right. Okay, here we go. All I'm going to do with this little felt sheet is just draw this wool right around the top. Just a little bit, not too far, just a little bit. I'm just going to tuck a little layer right around the edges. Like I said, you don't have to use the felt sheet for this. You can just use wool and then tack the color inside, which is what I did on this little guy. But I wanted to show you this because it's something you might not know you can do. I was telling Ann, this is also a fun way to make eyelids. It can make we'll do that if we do a little critter felt along next year. With a mouse, it's kind of fun to make the ears maybe a little bit bigger than you think they should be and makes them kind of animated. And then where you have this exposed felt down here, all I do is just sneak a little bit of this batting right back up, just like that, and just hide it. Just pull it up a little bit and hide it. Now, we don't need all of this to attach to our little mouse, but we can use a good portion of it, and needle felt the back too. When you use felt instead of fiber, as you're poking from this side, no color pokes through to the back. If you put wool down here and you try and tack it down, you have to be real gentle so it doesn't poke through the back. That's just a hot tip. So pinch off anything that's like too much extra, and then we can put our ears on. And you can put your ears on last, or you can put them on now, but if you give them a little pinch, then you can kind of shape them where you want them to go. And I'm just going to tack them down with this one first. Now spend your time making your mouse so you love him. Of course, I'm rushing, but let me get mine on there fast and then I'll start shaping them.
Connie shares, these cuties could be used for so many festive things. Love them.
Connie, you're so sweet.
Linda shares, thanks for showing me something new using the felt sheet. I really like that.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun, especially since it's wool. Wool instead of the craft store felt just plays a little more nicely. It just does. It's a little more cooperative. It's a little more receptive of the fiber than the craft store felt. Now, ears are a fun thing to play with because you can make your critter a little more baby sometimes by spreading the ears to the side and back, you know. They can tend to look a little more childlike depending on where you put the ears and where you put the eyes. So let me just hurry and kind of get this on. I know I'm way over. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about the time. Not much I can do. I can't see any comments today.
Kathy shares, love these mice. Elle's Fiber shares, oh, cute ears.
Yeah, make them big if you want for a mouse, you know, just kind of make them big. All right, so I'm going to just hurry get mine tacked down. And you can always put a little tuft of wool inside the ear also, so that you can kind of cover up what you have there. But give him a little pinch. I'm going to give him a little space in between his ears. What am I missing, Ann?
Just our felting friends aren't worried about us going over.
They're not.
Stay broadcasting.
Okay, so my mouse's ears need a little work, that's for sure. But I don't want you to miss out on the other parts. So let me jump to that. We already have our little face made and our little drafty ears done. I forgot. There's a hat and a scarf to make yet. All right, so. Let's hurry. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the head on the body right now, and then we'll add the rest of the pieces once he's built. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this very same thread. You can or you can't. It's up to you. It's just that we're going to be pulling tight on this, so your thread needs to be able to handle that tension. You can always add another, cut this off and add another piece of thread. But we're going to put the head on the body. So I'm going to use the same ones I have and thread my current needle. Oh, I forgot about our question. It's way off topic. For somebody to win. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take this threaded needle and I'm going to run it from the top of the body down to the bottom of the body, just like that. Run one thread out. And then we're going to do the same with the other one. This is how I do string jointing, and this is just string jointing the head. So we're going to run both threads through the bottom of the body. And just leave a little bit of space, an 1/8 of an inch or so that you can tie them off. Get a nice tie on it. So here we have, the black thread should help you kind of see what I'm doing. Mouse is on his little body. And if your pieces are firm, then you're going to be able to pull really tight and they're not going to squish away to oblivion. They might distort for a second, but you want to be able to pull it really tight. So we're going to tie a super tight knot in the bottom of the body. And then we can just fill in that divot with a little bit of wool.
So Kate asks, so it's like the bear kit?
Yep, it's like our bear kit. String jointing, this is how we string joint the head. So I'm just going to cut that off. You can double knot it if you want or whatever. You remember that little tuft of wool we pulled off and we didn't know what we were going to do with it? Just pull it off and fill in the hole. So just cover that up. And now let's patch on our parts. If we have time, we'll make them a hat and string them up. If we don't have time to make a hat, someone's going to have to watch the gnome video. But I'm going to do my best right now.
Heidi asks, she shares that she has difficulties attaching the head to the body without losing the shape of the neck and head. Do you have any suggestions?
Make it firmer.
Make it firmer.
If your piece is firm enough, it shouldn't lose its shape. And of course, I would go back and clean all this up. But let's get our parts on. So let's put our little tail on. This is all kind of patchwork at this point. Just use your same fiber. Like I said, if you have our batting, you're going to find that this is really easy to work with and really easy to make little patches with. We can just patch this tail on, or we could just wrap a little bit of white around it. So it's kind of grabbing on all sides. You don't have to do it like that, but I just wrapped it around, and then I'm going to cover it up with a patch. I'm just going to patch right over it, and you're not going to be able to see it. And we're going to do the same thing with the arms and the legs. Yeah, if your piece really badly misshapes when you string joint things together, just try and make it firmer. And the refinement comes after this, after you get all the pieces together, then you can just sit and nerd out and binge watch something or binge listen to something while you just work and refine and get it all smooth. So with that note, we said, before y'all got here, that what we would do is we do a giveaway. If somebody could guess, what does Marie binge watch while she's needle felting at night and preparing for felt-alongs? We're going to give you like 3 minutes. If nobody guesses, then nobody wins. But if you can guess what I binge watch on Netflix, that's a tip, while I'm needle felting, and we're going to give it away to like the first answer that we see who is right. If you can guess what I binge watch while I prepare for these tutorials with you currently on Netflix, then you're going to win the Needle Felting a Snow Village kit. And you may not care. You may be like, yawn, whatever. Who cares what Marie watches or listens to?
We're getting some interesting results.
I don't know what The Last Kingdom was, and I've never seen Supernatural. I've never seen Marvelous Maisel, but if that's good, someone tell me and I'll check it out.
Oh, it is really good.
It's good. Okay. Someone said Bob Ross, and that would not be. Oh, they did?
Someone got it.
Who got it?
Linda Crouch-Repkin, Great British Bake Off.
Linda Repkin got it. The Great British Bake Off. That's my current Jones right now, is the Great British Bake Off. Yep, that's what I watch. Yay! Congratulations, Linda, for guessing. Downtown Abbey, never seen it. Sabrina, never seen it. Breaking Bad, never seen it. Do you believe that? I saw a name today and I thought, would anyone believe that I don't know who Cardi B is? Like, I see her in the news, I'm like, I don't even know who that is. Cardi B. Who are you? Do I care? No. Yay! Someone guessed. Okay, well, we're still going to give away another Snow Village at the end, so hang in with us. I know I'm over time. We're going to get our arms and legs on this little guy, and I'll probably spend the night just firming him up and getting him done. So you can spend the time to get those joins in, but notice that we just kind of tacked them on. You can make him holding something if you want. For these particular legs, like I said, this is kind of the faux armature one. You can just kind of plop them right on the outside like that. And if you put your needle in this direction as opposed to this direction, you can blend it pretty nicely. If you go this direction, you're going to create a shelf, but if you go this direction, you can kind of taper it and go up all the little areas there, not just the outside. Go up all of them like that. Now, you don't have to give him legs. My first one I made, Jingle Bells, this guy doesn't have legs at all, so they don't have to have legs, but it's an option. Okay, let me get them on. I was telling Anne it would be fun to make little boots and then just have them dangling. Some of my favorite ornaments have like some kind of a little dangly leg. So have fun with that. Your mouse doesn't have to be traditional. He could be in a basket. He could be sitting on a present. You know, there could be all kinds of things that you do. He doesn't have to have legs.
Connie said, let's keep going all night. Virtual slumber party.
You know I would if I was single. If I didn't have a hot date to go home to every night, I probably would. Okay, so my little mouse kind of has some legs in place, and I need to work on those, and he's a little fat guy. But so for those of you who don't know, I'm going to show you like in 1 minute how to make him a hat. But oh look, we want to make him a hat, and if you want to hang a big thick bulky string like this one, I'm going to have Anne cut me some, and cut me a nice length of string off. I'm going to show you how you can hang a big bulky piece of string without sewing it through his head. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make him a tiny little cone hat, and oh surprise, I'm going to use a chenille stem so that you can shape it. Big surprise, right? I'm going to start by making it a little bit longer than I need. I'm going to make my little hook, draft the fiber out, give him a little hat. Now you don't have to use the chenille, but I did it so that I could pose the hat. That's the only reason for the chenille stem, is that I can pose it. Oh, sorry. So twist it just like we've done. Make it as big or as little as you want. I gave him kind of a kooky little short hat. Needle felt it on the chenille. Needle felt it before you get it on the mouse, because doing it after is just almost impossible. So get all that in place before you get it on him. And I didn't give mine any little fluff or anything, but what's fun about it is that you can shape it. And then I'm going to cut this off below where I want it so that I have room to mount it on his head. And oh, by the way, I didn't felt that hat enough, but I want to show you where we are. So needle felt right into the hat and kind of give it some dimension if you go right into what will be the bottom, but leave the very edges loose. And you can give yours a little ball if you want. It's not hard. You'll figure it out from here. And then I'm just going to put it on his head. But oh wait, we want to give him a little string, right? So in order to give him this string, if you don't want to sew it, to hang him, this one's a little long. It's going to be a necklace. Anne tied this for me. She wanted me to have a mouse necklace, not a mouse ornament. Thanks, Anne.
You'd have the flexibility to choose.
I appreciate that. But you can trap it under fiber, and in this case, you can just trap it right underneath his hat. And that way, you can have like a nice, fun, bulky mounting, hanging thread, whatever, and not worry about sewing it through your mouse and destroying him. So anchor it just like that. If you're going to put a ball on the hat, do it before you put it on his head, and just, you're going to figure it out. Okay, that is my super duper quickie, messy, needle felted mouse Christmas ornament. I didn't show you how to make the scarf. Oh darn. Here's some just some New Zealand Corriedale. I'm just gonna wrap it around because we're all out of time. Phone's ringing. Fairies are probably ready to give away some prizes. Needle felting the scarf is pretty easy. All you're going to do is, take the same stuff we've been using and needle felt it into a shape. But if you got nothing else, you can use ribbon or fabric or whatever. And that's my quickie New Zealand Corriedale scarf. So I hope that was fun. I'm sorry I couldn't read all your comments, but I'm going to do that for part of my night. And I'm just so grateful for you all hanging out with me for this hour. So what we're going to do is give away some prizes, y'all. Yay! He's pretty rough. You could spend more than an hour, that's for sure. So we're going to give away some prizes. One person already won one of the snow villages. We're going to draw some names. So the fairies are back, and thank you all for hanging out. If this is your first time, if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you'll subscribe to our channel. If it's your first time on our Facebook page, hit the little bell right up in the corner of your screen there that says it's next to following. It'll notify you whenever we go live. Our next show is Wednesday, January 9th, and what we're going to do is another 2D scene. I'll needle felt a bird in the snow because that was a big request, and then hopefully we'll be able to tell you then about all the great stuff we have going on next year, which I promise is more felt-alongs, more demonstrations, and even online workshops with some teachers that you've been asking for. So lots of fun planned for next year. Gonna give away prizes, so let's draw some names. Thanks for participating, everyone.
Okay, number 1. It's going to be Diana Geis.
Yay! Diana!
Diana, you win one of our MC1 studio packs.
So lots to choose from there. Any one of our MC1 studio packs, you can pick from those, and lots of fun to have with that. Congratulations, Diana.
Trying to get 2. Sandy Howell.
Yay, Sandy! What's she win, Ann?
Sandy, you win one of our needle felting a sweet chickadee kits.
That's pretty fun. Do we have one here? Oh, this is one of our little kits. You can have all kinds of fun with that, and you'll learn some fun skills of working with wire in that too. Cool. Okay, what's next, Ann?
Alrighty. Marie, do you want to pick a name?
No, I've been talking all hour. You Enough of me already.
Alrighty. Alicia Riddle Hiron.
Yay, Alicia! What'd she win, Ann?
She won a needle felting a snow village kit.
Yay!
New kit.
Super fun. Well, thank you all so much for playing with us. We just want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah and a Happy New Year. And we're going to see you all in 2019. Thanks for joining us. Be good to yourselves.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.